Okay, welcome in everybody to a very special edition of the Garden Report. Kevin Garnett Day edition, I should say, as Kevin Garnett finally gets his number retired. It feels like it's been forever since we've been able to actually do it, but the number 5 goes up into the rafters today. My name is Jimmy Toscano. On the scene tonight is Bobby Manning, who was just out on the street getting some man on the street interviews, which I think he's going to have some of those later for us, which will be fun. Nick Josue joining, a little special guest appearance. Nick Josue from CLNS Media as well. He's going to give us some of his thoughts on Kevin Garnett and sort of how KG changed the face of this organization and what it's meant for. Celtics, CLNS, everything. Yeah, really. I mean, to be completely honest, Kevin Garnett has had the historian himself. He's going to give us a game-by-game, day-by-day breakdown of Kevin Garnett's tenure here in Boston. No, he's not going to do that.
I could do that.
He could, but he's not going to. So thanks,
I could do
Nick,
that.
for joining us.
I won't do it, but I can.
Guys, the sun is out shining. The Garden is buzzing from all accounts. Kevin Garnett will be immortalized today in TD Garden lore. If he already hasn't, I'm pretty sure he already has. But now it's going to be something that fans will be able to look up to and remember the good old days. If you're somebody who's like my age, I'm not going to give you my exact age, but if you're in the 30s range, you certainly remember those times and even the mid-20s. Bobby, your recollection of KG might be a little bit different. I know you wrote about this today. So why don't we start with you, Bob? What does this day kind of mean to you as Nick disappears?
It almost feels like the time machine here because you and Nick both covered this team in person during those years, and it was a different feel, right? It was like adults in the room. These are like grown men. It was just huge guys in the room. Recently, it's been younger guys, a revolving door of personalities. And it's almost been like a journey to try to get back to that point of just how credible and professional that group was and just how much allure they had as Hall of Famers, it's almost like a teleport back to that because it was a different feel around the Garden back then. It was every single year the expectation was championship, and ever since then it's been development, it's been downs, it's underdog status, and it's almost like the basketball world is turning back on Boston today and saying, remember when this was the heart of the NBA? Because that's kind of how those teams felt there in those years, at least from my perspective, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll never forget the day. I don't think anyone old enough to remember it will ever forget the day where Kevin Garnett trade occurred. Happened fast. There was a lot of takes. There's a lot of people nervous about it. The amount coming in, the amount going out, and I think I'm trying to get Nick back in here, but Nick, we can't see your video, so you're gonna have to figure out.
Try a different browser.
There he is. Okay, there he is. I don't know. Stop fiddling with stuff, Nick.
I'm not,
stop
bro.
fiddling. You're a fiddler. Just stop fiddling. All right.
All right. Give us the story, Jimmy.
So no. I mean, it doesn't matter where you were. We're driving in the car. I remember it just dropped in the middle of the day. I'll never forget it. I was filling up vending machines. That was my summer job, and Nick's gone again. And just one of those moments where you were like, wow, like the franchise is changing. Like this is what fans have been looking for, a reason to really get up and get going for this team after the season that they had, one of the worst, or the worst, I guess, in franchise history, or one of, it's that 18-game losing streak and Red passing away. It was a very low time for Celtics fans and Celtics organization. Kevin Garnett comes to town and everything changes. The swagger comes back. The legend of the Boston Celtics kind of reemerges, and they become a team that is, target everyone's number one target. And credit to them, they took on they took it on, and they raised that banner that very first year. We know what happened, injuries and whatnot, to kind of prevent them from winning another. But the point being is Kevin Garnett really transformed this franchise and brought it back where it was when our parents, your parents, I'm sure, and your aunts and uncles, would always tell you, like, the Celtics in the 70s and the 80s, and Nick, you were there in the 50s and 60s for those championships. I'm messing with you, obviously.
Nick, there was a great ad. I don't know if you saw it. You probably did. I think it was, I forget, ESPN maybe or something else, just kind of hyping up that Celtics team and coverage that year. And it was just basically like a montage of like people in bars across Boston looking at the KG introduction. Yeah, I think you actually showed me this ad.
Yeah.
And that's how it was, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, KG's responsible for this network, really. Probably wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Garnett. And Jimmy, I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for KG.
Oh, damn it, KG.
I know he screwed us, but as growing up though in the 90s, 80s was good, but the late 90s, you didn't even see a Celtics jersey in Philadelphia, right? Where I was at, and you think about it, Boston was not a basketball. It had stopped being a basketball town. It wasn't cool to like the Celtics, and boom, overnight, everybody was launching blogs. Everybody was back in the Garden. Gino was created. I mean, everything fans see today on a regular, consistent basis that are acknowledged as team traditions, Gino, that kind of stuff. It really stems from Garnett, Pierce, and Allen. And I'm just excited that hopefully Ray Allen is here.
That sticks out to me too, Nick, because like the old Garden goes down, all that history gets knocked to the ground. You got those awful 90s years, the 2000s that were up and down, and it almost felt like, I don't want to say like a Mickey Mouse building next door, but this isn't the Garden, this isn't the Celtics, and they had to rebuild that, and that's basically what they did. And all of a sudden, this building has a little bit of allure, and like this is basically to anybody who's wasn't around during those 80s years, that's who the Celtics were. It was KG, Pierce, Allen.
Yeah, anybody your age or younger, really. I mean, Jimmy's age is probably like the last cutoff to really feel it, maybe not remember it.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know. Mid-30s.
You remember Reggie?
Mid-30s don't remember. No. We don't, not enough that it's something that like we care for enough that it's going to bring us back. Like it's it's the Antoine Walker was really like people in my age group, like the 2001 team, for example, was like the one that I think really drawn a lot of fans in, and obviously they stuck it out for a couple years, but obviously that horrible season leading up to the trade for Garnett. So really that transfer that made you a winning culture, that turned the city, and it wasn't like
but Jimmy, you remember Duncan, you remember missed drafts.
Yeah, missed it.
One thing after the next. Red dyeing.
It was.
Tommy going to the draft and picking number 5, right? I mean, it was like brutal.
Exactly.
New ownership. Danny comes in. There's brown paper bags on fans. Fire Danny, fire Doc. I mean, it was falling apart. It really was. And it felt that way again the last 2 seasons. Thank God they turned it around this year. But he was a culture changer overnight. He made it cool to be a Celtics fan again. He was a bully, and it was fun because right behind him was Kendrick Perkins or Paul Pierce, and he was riling everybody up, Kevin Garnett. And it's also like last night, you get to see Pierce kind of holding court, and a lot of the old players are back. Big Baby crashed the stage.
Of course,
almost crashed the whole room.
Bobby, so you were there. You were just outside. What's the vibe? What's the scene? Give us a little picture of what's going on over there at the Garden today.
It's going to be packed. I mean, the people are here early in droves. They're at the bars. It almost has that spring-like feel, even though it's 30 degrees. The sun's out. Feels good. The KG jerseys are out in droves. And
did you see the stands, Bobby?
The what?
The stands before the fans got in. They were all decorated as Garnett. I have pictures. I'll put.
Oh, really?
They have a great.
They
have a great in that stairway in the front of the new Garden setup that they have out there too. It's like his silhouette on the stairs, all the numbers. Great job, great setup. I thought last night looked cool. I know you were there, Nick, in terms of just the balloons and everything that they have around.
A couple things that was cool last night. They had the original banners that were at Boston Public Library.
Oh, really?
I had I'll put them on my Twitter. But they were like eye level, so you could touch them. So I was able to touch the banners. It was like touching the Declaration of Independence. Like it was unbelievable.
Wait, they let you put your dirty hands on the banner? Oh, jeez.
No COVID protocols whatsoever. Everybody was kissing, loving. But Rick took a picture in front of every banner, which kind of tells you a story. He's never been that close to them either. So it was pretty cool. And then when you walked in the lobby, I mean, they had big murals of red and, mainly the new big 3. But Max was holding court because they had his mural, kissing the trophy in '84, front and center. So I was taking pictures of him. It just felt good again to get the family back together, like the old school guys, even if it's not a lot of them that have passed, or Larry Legend, or those guys. Bill Russell can't make the trip. It's still a lot of familiar faces, especially in your age group, Bobby. I mean, you're talking Posey, you're talking House. Right. Big Baby comes in with a girl on each arm. You know what I mean? Like, coming in from Manhattan, like he took a private jet. Amanda Pflugrad did a phenomenal job. emceeing it, and I see all these KG Psycho things. Jimmy, we were there, man. I remember those days with him coming out and just slamming his chest after the tip off, and the Garden. So you think about the Garden today, right? And I still think we're a first quarter arena. Like, people go in during the first quarter, but they're kind of like subdued. Oh no! When you heard Phil Collins playing and he was in the back tunnel warming up, the crowd, everybody ran to the stands. Even like we did as media, you wanted to see it. It was the same thing every game, but it never got boring. It never got old.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. Like the TD Garden is his house. It's almost the house that he built.
It's his house.
Like Pierce established some things. He was the guy. He was the guy that they drafted, and KG was like the. Yeah, I can't think of their ages off the top of my head, but he felt like the big brother there. And I love that story that years earlier they were both out in Vegas with their AU teams there, and Pierce was trying to convince him to come to that team, and it didn't work out. And he went to Farragut in Chicago, and they both went their separate ways in the NBA, and to have it come full circle that year in 2008. It couldn't have gone more perfectly, right? Especially as you talked about, Nick, there, just like it was cursed. The lottery loss. The year before, Pierce getting stabbed. We didn't even talk about that.
What was great was that at that time, it was really important to Doc and to Danny and to Wick to really have a good feeling of the old timers. And Jimmy could attest to this too. I mean, that year, so maybe not 08, 09, I wasn't there, but the years following, every game JoJo was at. Havlicek was at. Bill Russell was getting, he was on the payroll again. He was an ambassador. So he was there often representing our team, not to let, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, just, you felt every time you walk even into the press room when you'd see JoJo and Max and Tommy and all these guys, like, you were in the presence of royalty. So as a media member, Jimmy used to laugh at me because I would get more nervous about the legends and other legendary media than I did about the players. But there was one player that got me nervous, and it was Garnett. You can make anybody nervous. Not you, Jimmy. You were the best, man.
He can make everybody nervous. But that's where the Celtics are kind of at a funny point right now, is where a lot of those guys, like you said, Nick, they're getting older. They're not making the trips as much. Some of them have passed on, and now it's to the point where who are going to be the next round of legends who are going to walk down those halls and through those doors and sort of give you that vibe of tradition. That's what the Celtics have really thrived off of over the years. They're not going to win you over on the weather. They're not going to win you over on the nightlife. But if you really care about the tradition and, the legacy and all those buzzwords about, winning and things like that, then that's where the Celtics can sort of sell you. So Kevin Garnett is that guy. I mean, I don't know what the Celtics can do to get this guy in the arena more often or in the city more often, but man, as far as I'm
concerned,
give him
ownership.
They send him a blank check and say, pick your price, man. We need you in this building. We need you around. I'll say this about Kevin Garnett. Anyone who's ever been to a Celtics game where Kevin Garnett played in, it's not a game. It was an event. He would make it feel that way. You were at an event, and that goes with the pregame. That goes with all the the announcements and him pounding his chest, running up and down the court before
popping
the game.
The jersey.
Yep, putting his head up against the stanchion, where the basket is. Like, those are things. It's a show. It's not fake. I don't mean it's a show and that he doesn't actually.
It's real, but it's a show.
Right, it's real, but he's firing himself up by doing it. He's firing the fans up by doing it. He's making it a difficult place to play, and there's not enough of that right now. There really isn't. It's a very. And I'm not just pointing at the Celtics. I'm just saying in the NBA in general, there's not a lot of that intensity that you used to see. And there's only one Kevin Garnett, right?
There's only one, and that's what I love about him. He's one of the rare one of ones in sport. There's no one you can compare him to when you encompass the personality, the game, everything about him is just unique. Yeah. There's no one that even approaches that. I think there's guys that have different elements of him. I actually wrote Nick would collapse over. I actually thought early in his career, Anthony Davis had shades of KG. And that's why
my life. Really, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing
the game.
I'm not doing there's no
similarity,
wrong. Bobby.
Let him finish, Nick.
I was wrong. There were similarities in their games. They had similar numbers, similar production, but all the intangibles, all the intangibles of KG were non-existent with Davis. And we see, he got the championship out in LA, but I wanted that to happen. I wanted him to end up in Boston because, as I wrote today, I was 10 in 08. I didn't really experience it the way people who are older than me did there. I kind of experienced the 11 year that wasn't great, and the 12 year where they were the underdogs, and 13 their last stand. Those were when I really started getting into the team, and
Bobby,
it wasn't the same after 08, unfortunately, because of the injury.
No, but it was. You still had that intensity every night he was in the building.
The intensity was there.
Even today, if he was in the building more as a fan, you'd feel it. Bobby, I apologize because you came around on that. Because Anthony Davis, to me, is the anti-KG. KG's
personality-wise, yes.
Or no, demeanor-wise. Maybe not stats-wise.
That's what I mean.
He is the epitome of why, Bobby, I say analytics don't work. Because you watch Kevin Garnett, and you see just this glaringly jarring difference between he and Anthony Davis, yet their stats look similar. Davis probably looks better. But Garnett is a game changer.
Garnett affects
leadership. Leadership.
Exactly. Leadership.
Playing through injuries.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
I think all those things that translate to wins. And you can say, oh, well, he couldn't win in Minnesota. Well, I mean, you look at some of the teams he was playing with there. I mean, they got very close a couple of times, and they just kind of came up short. Kevin Garnett was still playing at the top of the league in terms of his skill at that point. But
MVP,
he got caught up against those Lakers teams and those other teams out west that were straight up just better than them. So you put him on a team in a situation in Boston. Pierce was right on the brink of leaving Boston right before that too. Let's not forget that. They bring Ray Allen in, who the all-star in his own right, and it just worked. And those guys played unselfish basketball, and that's obviously a major ingredient in that team. And
I know you love that, Nick. He understood what it meant to be a Celtic, right? Like that whole thing that so many Celtics fans love, and I think it's true. Like I've talked to Sherrod Adams about this on my show, and a Celtics fan forever here in Boston. There's a character, there's a personality of the great Celtics teams that team took on and really embraced.
There's a clip, Bobby. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go, Nick.
There's a clip, and I'll put it out on the History Channel. John has me putting a lot of clips out today. But there is one of Garnett, and he talks exactly about that. And it's not scripted. It's real. He wanted that. The other thing you got to think about with KG, I think he had a dozen games over 29 points in his 5 years here. Think about that. The biggest fights they had with Doc were over passing. And going back and looking at a lot of clips this week, Jimmy, he was a tremendous passer. Mm-hmm. He not only was he a great shot blocker, which we all knew, but timing wise, he was so good. And he was vicious, he was ferocious, he was all those things. He was a bully, all that stuff, the bar fight, all that. But I don't know how he had the energy to finish a game. The amount of energy he'd expend in one possession. Hey, thanks, Luke. He was just the man. And I remember in 2011, I'm in the locker room and Jimmy goes, Shaq's gonna come out. It was my first time, Jimmy. At the Garden. You go, Shaq's gonna come out.
Oh,
Shaq come out, goofed around with us, and I was Jimmy, you were funny. I was all right? Then Garnett comes out, which was rare, I think, pregame, and it was like,
yeah.
By the way,
and then you wait 2 hours after the game to see him, right? Jimmy, we wait forever. Hours.
Oh, yeah,
but you didn't care because he gave you something.
Right, absolutely. Bobby, what's going on over there, bud?
Paul Pierce just entered the building. Huge ovation. Gave Kendrick Perkins a big bear hug.
Josue's getting it.
Perk is there.
I actually just got
Pierce is there. Any Ray Allen sightings? Any Ray Allen sightings yet, or what?
So that's the thing. So Brian Robin in Mass Live today wrote that the Celtics haven't heard back from Ray Allen.
Okay. Well,
he's not in Florida. He's not in his normal home in Florida. I can tell you that. I know that. I heard he's in Wellesley. I heard yesterday he was spotted in Wellesley. But I mean,
really?
Listen, if anybody follows Ray Allen, just go to his Instagram. The dude is like, you think he's OCD on the basketball court? Just follow his stories on Instagram. Like when you have the stories and they're this big, Jimmy, because you have so many. That's Ray. He documents everything he does from tying his shoes to going to bed at night. Well, and he's posted nothing.
He's got to go, right? There's no way he skips this.
He could skip it.
I'd be.
I honestly don't know what he's going to do. I don't know. I think he should go. Listen, we saw the Kevin Garnett clip a couple of days ago. It sounds like they had a little talk, and occasionally himself, it was like they picked up wherever they left off. So, regardless of whether or not he goes today, I think if he can't make it for whatever reason, I don't think it's because he has, issues or beef with KG. I think maybe they have buried that hatchet. And I'd like to see him. I think everyone would like to see him. Listen, at the end of the day, we want to celebrate these guys.
Nah,
maybe
Jimmy,
he doesn't want to become the story.
I think that might be it, becoming the story. That's
He's not going to become the story. Listen, he becomes another
huge. It'd be a big story.
He becomes a sidebar. He becomes a very good sidebar for sure. It's not going to overshadow raising Kevin Garnett's number to the banner. No, it wouldn't, Nick.
Maybe in Boston it wouldn't, Jimmy, but nationally it would be the story all over tomorrow, not his number. It would just be.
I agree with Nick. It would be at least a 1A story.
Nationally,
it'd be right up there. Especially the surprise factor that's building up now. Like, if we got the news a couple of days ago,
it's a good story. It's not a story that's meant to negatively affect the day, and I don't think it would. It can be a story to the side of the main story, which is fine.
If people boo for Ray Allen, I'm gonna have a major problem.
Yeah,
they barely booed for Kyrie Irving.
They won't.
I don't think that's the case, especially if Ray Allen shows up in support of Kevin Garnett today. There shouldn't be a single boo in the entire building for anybody other than the Dallas Mavericks. And I just don't see that happening. So it'd be great for Ray to come. I'd like to see the entire 2018 be there. I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I know.
So the word is it's
the whole team would be, but
Rondo's here.
Rondo's
Rondo has a game.
Yeah. So Doc and Rondo and those types, Thibodeau, they're gonna do some video montages. Yeah. Okay. So Posey. I actually have the full list. Glenn Davis is here. I think Eddie House is here. I think you probably saw most of them, Nick, last night. Whenever they're here,
we know Perkins is there. We know Pierce is there. I mean, Scal's obviously.
Baby's here.
Yeah,
it's not gonna mean anything to you guys, but if there's anybody in the chat, my boomer age, seeing Charlie Scott last night was kick-ass. Man, I never seen him in my life. I sat with his daughter.
That's a different show. We'll talk about Charlie Scott.
The thing about it is that that's where we're at now, Jimmy. We're at the guys that were role players. Glenn McDonald has been at everything. Glenn McDonald's been a disappearance for 50 years. We've not heard from him. They pulled out Glenn McDonald.
Yeah. Well,
speaking of KG and the impact he has on the crowd, how big is it when Pierce is here and just the way the crowd gravitates toward him under the basket for that Pistons game? That is a guy. KG's involved in all this different stuff. He's going to be hard to nail down. You can get Pierce here, can't you?
I think so. Bobby, that's a good point. Like, Pierce isn't really nationally loved. Like, it would probably be good for him to really spend a lot of his time in Boston, where he'd probably never have to pay for a thing. He can get a nonstop adoration and love from the fans and the organization. And I mean, I don't think anyone thinks that Pierce is gonna, take on this major role on the team in terms of, he doesn't seem to be, involved in coaching at any level. I don't think he's interested in that, but Pierce, certainly he can make appearances. He can be in the building. He can get the crowd fired up. He can, we know that he's, good on camera to the point where he can talk about the game and things of that nature. It would make sense for the Celtics to try to get Pierce. And I know he's a California guy, and that's probably the biggest reason for it. But it would be good if he.
I can tell you what Pierce told me personally.
Okay.
Yeah, Pierce said personally that he was supposed to be filling in with Gordon quite a bit this year, and I hadn't seen it once. That was opening night. He told me that.
That'd be a good way to do it. Yeah, like. He wasn't great in the studio, right, Nick? Like, I don't think he'd be good on the post-game show. And why even have him in the studio? But, yeah, have him on color. Or even as a third man in the booth. The Red Sox do that all the time.
He just needs to come on, maybe even for a quarter or half here and there, make an appearance, shake some hands, remember the good old days and get the crowd fired up. Let the players who are on the team now, try to get them to understand, like, what it meant for these guys to play in Boston. And
by the way, speaking of that, Ime did say pregame KG's going to address the team before the game, which is cool.
Ooh. Well, he should. And I'm going to tell you, so I know he still talks to Jay. He talks to Jalen the most, and I think Jalen the most. But
KG?
The thing that,
KG?
KG does, yeah. Okay. The thing that like at this point now, you can very much see it's Maxwell and Pierce last night. And you can see it pregame last game. They're kind of like the old timers now, which is crazy. But ownership has to want him here. So I'm not saying they don't, but they've got to engage him and get him here. Like, if I'm him, I'm not paying private air or jets to bring me in every week. Like, I don't care how many millions of dollars I am. I devoted my life to that team. You got to.
We have Josue Pavon joining us in just a moment. By the way.
Oh hell yeah, we'll stay on a little bit longer. We'll do some bonus. Some bonus. I know we told people 2:33, but we started a little late, so we're gonna go a little bit late. Lead you guys into the game.
Huge line getting in. Took us a minute.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably just go at halftime.
And Bobby, I'll wait for Josue to ask you both at the same time, but I'll be interested.
Jimmy, I had something more on last night.
What was that, Nick?
I have one more thing on last night.
Yeah.
You had mentioned about.
Why don't you tell people what last night is? Because I don't think everyone knows what last night is.
Oh, I can't really tell you what last night was. So it's usually
it was an
the
event.
banquet for. It's usually the banquet for the player you're honoring, and it seemed to me like it was initially supposed to be that, and maybe something happened. I don't know, and it turned into more of like an 08 reunion without I don't know what it was, guys, but there were a lot of legendary. KG's number was everywhere, so you were being nice to KG. Anyway, last night, at Pierce's, Jimmy, you were at Pierce's with us, weren't you?
I was, yes, I was.
The banquet too?
No, I wasn't at the banquet, no. Josue, I'm sure.
Yeah, but anyway, all the players, including Kyrie, were there. The players were actually sitting with the media in the media room, and then they were called in. Not one player, just Ime was there last night, so that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, and again, I don't know what the
me neither. I don't know the arrangements.
I don't know what the players were told or whatnot. I mean, I'm sure they probably have reasons for it. I mean, KG wasn't there, so at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think you're mad at anybody else.
They get their beauty sleep. There's a big game today. Don't forget about that.
Big game today.
We got beauty sleep
the last thing you want is for the Celtics to lay an egg and then have to retire KG.
So this is what I love about this. I just want to do this as an aside, and we'll get to the game after the game, but this is a huge game. And there was a chance this year that this was going to be a losing team and just kind of a ceremonial night with no implications on the court. KG and Pierce are going to be sitting here watching potentially the next championship Celtics team in a huge test against one of the best players in the league. There hasn't been a team in my hat as good of a chance to win a championship as this group has.
Listen to the Garden.
We are 14 games away from the playoffs, and they are 3 games back of the 1 seed. This team is for real, and I can't wait to watch Tatum and Luka go at it.
It's going to be a great game. Ceremony aside, it's going to be a great game today. I think, if you're Tatum Brown or any of those guys and you get a speech from KG pregame, I don't know how you don't get fired up and show out in this game. You've got some of the players that you've watched growing up, that you looked up to growing up, are going to be sitting courtside. You're going up against one of the best players in the NBA, and Luka, who already beat you, by the way, at the buzzer not too long ago.
Embarrassed you twice.
Yeah, twice. You're right. And unbelievable shots, by the way, too. I mean, this is a world-class NBA player coming to town here, and I know that the Mavericks are obviously staying in town, and there's a lot of fans out by the hotel today trying to catch a glimpse of Luka. So he's one of those guys that, fans, again, we talked about it with Tatum. Tatum's becoming one of those guys that fans circle the calendar for, and they want to watch him play. Well, Luka has been that player, for a longer stretch of time now. So this is a big game. It's a fun game. It's a national TV game. There's going to be a lot of people in the building. It might have a little LA feel to it, the who's who. Robert Kraft will probably be there. I'm sure there'll be maybe some Patriots players that are going to be in. Anybody who's been a Boston athlete over the last 20 years, theoretically, would want to get into this game.
Brady
today.
might be there.
Yeah,
wouldn't count on it.
Brady's definitely not there. I think
he wants to come back.
To be completely honest, but point being, Kevin Garnett was a huge part of Titletown, right? The glory days, the last 20 plus years of Boston sports. So there's could be some, unfortunately the Red Sox are not unfortunately, but fortunately, I guess they're now in Florida. So you won't see current players, but you might see some former Red Sox players in the building. So it's going to be one of those games. It's going to be fun. I know a good amount of people going. The tickets were expensive, but if, it's one of those it's one of those
suck it up
games where it's a moment that you're never going to forget. So, and at the end of the day, you spend a couple extra bucks and you have some memories that will last a lifetime. So
let me just temper fans, Jimmy, because it is not unfounded and nor unheard of to have the home team lose the game when you're retiring a Legends number.
But with what Tatum
happened with the old Celtics, with Max, with Doc, with DJ, with Kevin McHale, it is very common. So let's not, Bobby, don't have, panic attack if they end up laying an egg. Nothing was worse than Pierce's where they just rolled over.
No, you're right. We won't panic if they have a clunk, especially if they've won 23 or 29 here. And this Mavs team's really good. Top 5 defense, Luka, all the rest. But this is the game Tatum gets up for, right? Like the
I hope
individual matchup with the Kevin Durant types, and I'm sure him and Luka are kind of compared in that top 10 range, and doing it in front of the legends. Now I know Pierce and Garnett aren't his favorite players ever, but those are guys he watched growing up. He was my age. Me and Tatum are the same exact age almost, so we both watched those Garnett Pierce teams coming up.
Tatum has fairly said, and I think it's fair, to take himself out of that category completely by saying, I'm not KG. I don't have that personality. And he said that, and I admire him for saying that. And I think it makes him more of a leader by saying that. We don't want him to be KG. We want him to be him.
Exactly. And no one's saying you need to be KG, but if he can take aspects of every great player, if you can take a little bit of this from this guy and a little bit of this from another guy, that's going to elevate you game. No, not just one player, of course, but you can take something from Kobe that can help you, become a better player. Certainly, there are a number of attributes that you could use. We're still waiting for Josue to join us. Is he
doing my Johnny Most here?
I don't know if he has. I don't know if he's gonna hop on. We might lose him. Mavericks are actually on the floor now. They just came out, so just a few more minutes here, I'd say, before we hop off.
Well, if we do have, we'll give it a few more minutes. If you see him, tell him that we're looking to get his take on things.
Hey Jimmy, I know you're hosting. May I ask you a question that I go off sidebar a little bit here? I have been getting DM'd, messaged constantly what my opinions are now that I'm eating crow on the team. Mm-hmm. So I would like to officially say I couldn't be more happy with the way the team are playing with effort like the Celtics that we know. This is all I ever wanted. And I was wrong about Brad being the front office man. And I never disliked Jason Tatum. I love that dude. And his play he's going to end up, if he stays with this franchise, the best player in the history of the franchise. I mean, Bill Russell holds that honorary role. That's fine.
Here we go. Fire him up.
I will not apologize for Brad getting fired last year. That is a definite, because last year I knew in game 2 of the season that Brad.
Here we go. So you get the apology cam, and then he takes back his apology.
I don't have my glasses to take off to show you I'm serious, but I am. But I am going to say I never said fire Ime.
No one is saying that. Like, Nick, no one's saying that.
Yeah, but I got called that. I'm calling myself out because I got called that by fans. So all I'm saying is that all I want for the Boston Celtics is to win. I'm officially a fan again. So I can get pissed off and I can cry and I can be happy. I'm happy now. Let's just see them hit some adversity and see how they contend with that. And I think they'll be fine. I agree with what Bobby's saying. They could be a championship team.
I see it. You play defense like this.
Did you see how Nick turtled as soon as the apology cam came on? He turtled real quick. But Nick, to your point and to your credit, I think a lot of fans are probably saying similar things. And they're completely right to feel the way you did about this team 2 months ago or however long it was now.
Thank you.
I keep saying it's probably been 3 months now. So they've done a
180. 2 years.
They've done a 180, right? They've done a 180, and it's a damn good thing they did, because I don't even know if Kevin Garnett would have showed up today if the product that we got 3 months ago had continued on. This would have been a miserable place to be. And the way that they're playing, defensive intensity, unselfish, playing hard, playing with some confidence and some swagger, that's Kevin Garnett in a nutshell right there. That's a Kevin Garnett type team. Now, I'm not comparing them to the 2008 championship team. I never would. That team was, in my opinion, I don't know if there's ever going to be a Celtics team that's going to compete with that level of play.
If Jalen can start playing on the same level as Jason, this team could beat anybody, including New Jersey.
They need him. By the way, I can't wait to watch Luka. Oh, he is great.
It's a Celtics pregame
you almost
show,
got reassigned
this
from
is
this
a
game
Celtics
and Jimmy got plugged in.
No, Bobby, real quick, just on Luka though. I mean, I want to ask you a couple of things. We'll see things, but on Luka, he's having an unbelievable season. A little bit overweight. Took some heat, I think, from fans and from the media. To his credit, lost some weight. What's his name? Mark Cuban pretty much said that he thinks that he was humbled a little bit, and now he's playing, again, back to where, best basketball of his career and arguably top 5 player in the NBA.
Yeah, I say he has the flamethrower on hand at all times. He is capable of going 30, 15, and 10 any given night. And the Celtics are coming out right now, so it's going to get pretty loud. But he's a massive challenge. If you're Tatum, though, with the defense that you play, and you know I'm a defensive guy. That's why I love KG. That's why Horford became my favorite player in the aftermath of those years. I love Tatum because he's a defensive player. He plays both sides of the ball. If you're Jason Tatum, you can be better than Luka, not because you're going to break these triple-double records that Luka is pursuing right now, but you play both ends. And I'll tell you this, Tatum can defend Luka. Luka cannot defend Tatum. And that's always Jason Kidd. He's got Dallas playing great defense this year. I don't know how he's doing it because they don't have the personnel. So credit to him for that. But Tatum can absolutely be better than Luka if he locks in on both ends of the floor and plays that way consistently.
Bobby, is Ainge there?
The commenters are saying yes. I haven't spotted him. By the way, I just want to add, Leon Poe will be here. Tony Allen will be here, which hasn't been here.
Nice.
I'm the one who I hate to give them the number.
Keep going, Bobby.
But yeah, that's what I got so far. Perk, Glenn Davis, usual suspects that you usually see here. I didn't know Danny. No word on Scott Pollard.
We don't know where he is in the world.
But yeah, regular suspect Scal. You know, he'll be here calling the game. Or no, they're not calling the game today. But yeah,
so Danny and KG are together.
Our producer's telling us that Danny is in the building. There's a video of Danny floating. There's a video floating around of Danny and KG together.
I want to say,
by the way,
Danny deserved a round of applause today. Put me on big screen, Jimmy. He deserves a round of applause.
Who's this?
And I credit Bob Ryan for this.
Myself on big screen.
Jimmy, I credit Bob Ryan for this. Obviously, he's the historian, but Danny Ainge is responsible for 4 of the Celtics' 5 starters. It is the first time in 50 years that the Celtics have started 4 of their very own first-round draft picks that have now become the core of the team. What you're seeing out there, I've seen for 2 effing seasons, all you guys bitch about Danny Ainge and his roster. He built this core. We owe him a round of applause, and we owe him a lot of gratitude because those guys wouldn't be there
get this guy off big screen,
and New Jersey.
Thank you.
I was seeing.
I was
Nick, watching.
You don't produce, Nick. We produce.
I was watching.
You're right. I'm sorry.
I was watching the 08 celebration. Danny on the sideline with the fiery red hair and the full head of hair. It's crazy how much he changed over the 20 years of stress that followed.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that, Bobby. I watched it too. Like I said, I've been cutting stuff up. And when I remember watching it when it happened and crying like a baby, well, I was in a bar with earbuds on editing, and I got into like a rabbit hole watching it. I started crying at the bar. The bartenders, good thing they know me. They thought I was crazy. I had to leave. I never seen anybody with that kind of emotion. Never. At the time, it felt really weird, like a little awkward. You're like, what's going on? But looking back at it now, oh my God. Can you see anybody in the league today, Kevin Durant, with that kind of emotion?
No, you can't. All right, so Bobby, I know it's getting loud over there. Any final thoughts? Oh, I want to say a few things first before we go. The post-game show tonight is going to be immediately, as soon as possible, after the buzzer sounds, because we want to get it in before the ceremony. They're saying the ceremony is going to start at 30. I'm sure it's going to be dependent a little bit more on when the game ended to turn around. Bobby and Josue are in the building. Nick will be there too, I think, as a fan, right, Nick? Is that what's going on?
Yes, that's right. Yep, I'll be as a fan. Good seats, so I'll get good pictures.
We'll have the full report of the game. They'll have the full report of the ceremony. I think they're going to sneak down there after our show and get hopefully get in a good position to get some solid footage of the ceremony. So definitely keep it on CLNS right after the game, and we'll get some really good footage from the ceremony. Bobby and Josue, I wanted to get Josue's opinion on this, but Bobby, you were on the ground right before you came in today. What were the fans saying? Give us a little preview of some of the
Yeah, we'll have a montage of the man on the street stuff, but he mattered to a lot of people here. He mattered to the city. He resonated here culturally. I think Nick teased it in terms of just making the Celtics matter. There was no reason to love the Celtics beforehand. Like, they became kind of losers for a stretch there, and just the energy and passion and the pride that he displayed. I don't think a lot of players anymore have that connection to the team. What's great about tonight is that KG, I know he's a Timberwolf and he wanted to go out as that, but with the friction and the divide that he has with the organization here, there was an open door to really cement his legacy going into the Hall of Fame last year as a Celtic. And with a move like this, with a move like this, officially, you're stamping Kevin Garnett Celtic. And it's done.
And it would have happened last year, too, but COVID prevented anyone from being in
That's a big point.
That's why it was pushed.
That's a big point you're making there, Jimmy, because a lot of these plans, I think, that were made on with the specific game and who's going to be in town, I think that disturbed quite a bit of it. I know you want to wrap.
I do. I don't want to get on a tangent on that stuff.
No, I don't either. I just want to second what Bobby said and just kind of say, I think that when you hear, and when I say old, I'm using it loosely. I'd say like 30 to whatever, older. When you hear them get frustrated with listless, effortless basketball, anybody who's under that age, just go and watch the highlights now. You'll see it today, even when he's not playing, because that's what you fans in Boston deserve. So thanks for having me, guys. Check out the History Channel because we'll have a lot of KG stuff, rare stuff.
Yep. So Kevin Garnett goes up into the rafters tonight. The Celtics play the Mavericks right after we end the show. Turn on the TVs. And,
Celtics CLNS. That's where you'll get all your video inside the arena.
Celtics CLNS. We're going to have the post-game show. We're going to have KG recaps, I'm sure, throughout the week.
KG may crash it.
Yep, who knows? We don't know. Grant crashed the last one. So thank you guys, as always, for watching. Keep it on here, and we